I'm just gonna make this totally clear. This is not a joke, and this is 100% real. I don't care if you guys believe me or not. I also don't feel like using my actual name because there's a lot of creeps on here. So you can just call me Hannah. I'm 16 years old, and this happened roughly 8 months ago. I've lived with my grandparents in this old house all my life. My parents died in a plane crash when I was 2 years old. So ever since then, I've had to live with my grandparents. Let's just say that their house gives me the creeps, but I've gotten used to it since I've been here for 14 years. We live pretty much in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of cornfields around us. And before anyone asks, no, there's no children in the corn. The joke is really getting old. All my life I've heard stuff like coyotes and birds and every single critter that you can possibly think of. Yes, including snakes. I know, gross, right? Anyway, off topic. One night I was up late and it was summer, so I didn't have school. And I was in the living room watching TV and on my phone scrolling through Instagram, messaging friends. I looked around as I felt like someone was looking at me. You know that really weird feeling you get when you get goosebumps and your guard is up? I looked at the 2 big windows that were in the living room and looked at the entrance to the kitchen that leads into the living room. I didn't see anything, so I tried to ignore the feeling and went back onto my phone watching a video that my friend sent me. As I started to forget that feeling I just had a minute ago, I heard something hit the outside window really hard. Yeah, I know women in this generation are supposed to be so-called independent, but let's just say I really needed my grandpa, or a policeman with a big gun right about now. I screamed so loud that I felt like I woke up the entire state that I live in. I heard my grandparents' door open and my grandpa came out with a shotgun. There's something outside! He went to the door and turned on the porch light and looked around but didn't see anything. He shot up one time into the air to scare off whatever it was. We don't have neighbors, so we don't have to worry about waking them up. I was really shaken afterwards. My grandpa walked back inside and shut and locked the door. He told me to try to get some sleep, and I went into my room and laid there for about an hour before I eventually fell asleep. The next morning I woke up and went outside with a cup of coffee as my grandparents were following me out. I saw something in the yard. I slowly went down the stairs and I screamed. My grandma dropped her cup of coffee on the ground and my grandpa ran over. There was a coyote, but only its head. A stick was in the ground, going straight through the coyote's skull. My grandpa walked over and picked it up and looked around, and he looked at the outside wall. In blood it was written, "She can't be alone forever." I slowly walked down the stairs to look, but before I could, my grandpa told me to go inside and not to look. My grandma grabbed my hand and pulled me into the house. About 20 minutes later, a policeman pulled up into our driveway with the lights on and came out. I looked out the window and saw my grandpa talking to the policeman. As I was looking out, the man looked over at me and smiled in a very creepy way. My grandpa came back inside about 10 minutes later. He told me to go in my room and he and my grandma were gonna talk. I walked to my room and pretended to go in, but I secretly stayed in the hallway. I heard them talking from around the corner. They started to argue, which is something I've never heard them do before. My grandpa then started to walk towards the hallway I was standing in, and I slowly went back in my room and laid in my bed. He knocked on my door and walked in. So we're gonna have a couple of officers outside our house for the next week to see if they can catch the person that's been doing this. That's what my grandpa said. I nodded my head and he left the room. The next couple of days nothing happened as I suspected, since there is police officers outside. About 5 hours later, one of the officers came to the door and my grandpa answered. I heard my grandpa yelling at the man, and finally he shut the door. I went out to the living room to see what was wrong. They said they weren't going to stay with us any further, as nothing was happening. So that's why my grandpa was so angry. Later that night I was in my bedroom when I heard someone walking outside my bedroom window. My lights were off, so I tried to stay as quiet as possible. What scared me the most was I didn't hear footsteps anymore, which means I didn't hear them walk away. They were right outside my window. I tried to slowly get out of my bed, but that's when my bed squeaked. All of a sudden, I heard whatever it was running away. I yelled for my grandpa. He came flying into my room. I told him I heard something running outside my window. He ran out with his gun and saw a car start and tried to leave. By some miracle, my grandpa got the license plate. For an old man, he sure is quick. The next day, we all went to the police station with the license plate information. The police said that they would check the information, but it was most likely a stolen car. As the man was looking, his eyes widened and his mouth dropped. He called in a few more officers and they looked at us. "Are you sure this is the license plate you saw?" My grandpa looked at them and he said, "Positive." A few days later, we were sent to a court hearing to testify against the man that harassed me. Our lawyer went to the man as he was sitting down. "Officer Lanson, you will be going to jail for a long time," said the prosecutor. For anyone who is confused, let's go back a little bit into the story. The officer pulled up and started talking to my grandpa. He looked over at me and gave me a really creepy smile. This is the same man who has been harassing me. It's a very small place where I live, so everyone knows each other in a 200-mile radius. Even the people who live in the middle of nowhere like me and my grandparents. He was looked into for other crimes related to my own, and his fingerprints were found at several different crime scenes. There was one where there was a little girl that went missing a few months back. He took a plea deal, so he wasn't sentenced to death. He was sent to prison for 45 years. Unfortunately, they couldn't charge him with the death of the little girl. At least we're assuming that she is dead. So by the time he gets out, he'll be 81 years old. And for anyone who's wondering about the beheaded fox, he's apparently left a beheaded fox head at all his crime scenes. Some people think he's been a part of more crimes, but there's no proof, unfortunately. Sorry, I know I've been rambling, so I'm going to go ahead and end this story, since clearly there's nothing else to talk about, and since he is in prison. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys can do me a huge favor, hit that like button and subscribe. I really would appreciate it. I'm going to start posting videos as often as I possibly can, and I really hope you guys do enjoy them, if anybody is watching. I mean, to be fair, I just started this channel, so it's going to be slow at the very beginning, but hopefully we can pick it up very soon. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Alright guys, bye.